It's that time of the program when we turn our attention over to the markets. And this week, we explore current land values and the impact that could have on farms and ranches in the areas in the coming year.
We're visiting now with Paul Schittig. He is the Senior Vice President, Real Estate with Farmers National Company. We like visiting with you guys several times throughout the year to get a pulse of what's happening out there in the countryside, especially as it relates to land prices. What's the news of 2024 as we get ready to enter a new year?
Yeah, the land market is always an interesting topic and on the forefront of everybody's mind in agriculture, because that's really the factory and how people make their livelihood. But you know, the word that we keep bringing up is resiliency, because even though we've seen commodity markets depressed and the economy kind of slow down, the activity in land transfers is still very active. Probably the only downside of that is we see fewer listings out there. Across the industry, we're probably 20-25% down in listings, but we still have a very strong group of motivated buyers.
When it comes to the land that sells, you all track the buyers, whether they're farmers or outside investors. As you look back at the past 12 months or so, how are we trending in those percents?
Yeah, historically, we've seen the farm operators are the primary buyer of land, and it has been as high when the commodity markets were high. The percentage of about 80% operators buying versus others, investors, funds, things like that. We've seen that shift slightly. We're probably about 70% of the buyers are still farm operators, and we're seeing a slight uptick in interest from institutional buyers and land investors.
Overall, prices remain still elevated, I guess. Is that a fair way to ask that question? What do you see with trends?
Yeah, when we look at the trends over the past 5 years, we saw a really sharp spike there in 2021, 22, and it certainly has settled from there. But we have not seen the floor drop. We're still seeing some very strong interest from buyers. That's what's going to continue to drive the market. And we've seen lower quality land settle a little bit. The high quality land is still selling. It's not going up any higher like it was a couple of years ago, but definitely seeing some stability there.
Sounds like as we look out to 2025, we're expecting more of the same. Is that a fair assessment?
That's a fair assessment. You know, even in spite of all of the negative pressures in agriculture, whether it's the economy or commodities or net farm income, we're still seeing a very, very strong market. And so I look at stability as probably the word is as we move into 2025, I expect the stability, and maybe we'll see some positive aspects if we see any kind of turnaround in the commodity markets and the ag economy in general.
Farmers National Company, obviously dealing on the real estate side, but also in the land management. You guys are tracking cash rental rates. What are you expecting in the new year?
We've seen a little bit of a downtick in cash rents, primarily in those areas that have historically been fairly high. And of course, when you look at where things are profitability-wise on the farm, we're definitely going to see a little bit of a settling of those cash rent values, but there's still great demand for land, because without it, you know, the producers can't operate.
Let me ask you this, from your seat, what does the future of land ownership look like?
When we look through our long-range plan and we try to decide who's going to be the future owner of land, we'll still continue to see those individual ownership models where someone either inherited the family farm or they decided to keep the family farm. But we are seeing a little bit of stronger interest in what we call institutional land ownership through funds and investment groups. So I think we'll continue to see that trend move upward just a little bit.
Seems like there's always interest in groups outside of the U.S. In fact, we talked a lot about that at last year's convention. Mm-hmm. You still see a lot of concern in that space, or has policy and studies been enacted to kind of cool the waters?
I would say that the waters have definitely cooled a little bit on that. There's still concern, especially from countries like China, what we'll call our adversaries. We want to be very careful, and I think there have been things implemented across states that have slowed down some of that purchasing. But overall, when you look at the broad picture, there's a very small amount of foreign ownership in the U.S. And of that foreign ownership, most of it is what we would consider our allies, Canada, some people from the European Union. And so it really settled everyone's concern once we outlined that.
What else is on your mind?
Well, the overall, it's we kind of went through a time ahead of this election on what's going to happen. There was a little bit of anxiety out in the market, but as we move into 2025, I see a lot of potential positive aspects in agriculture in general. There's still a lot of pro-ag outlook, and like I said earlier, with just a little bit of change and a little bit of positive movement in commodity markets and the ag economy in general, I think we'll continue to move upward and onward.
You make those markets go up, everybody will be happy with you, Paul.
Yeah, I think so. We can write an article today and talk about where the land market is, but things can change pretty quick in this day and age.